Russ.
Okay, welcome everyone to our January 24th, 2023, 2 p.m. Commissioner agenda. Like the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present. I will start with our open public forum. And so today we have 3 people that have signed up for the open public forum. Maybe there's more. So, okay, Ms. Wilhite, you'll have 3 minutes, and please state your name and address for the record.
Diana Wilhite, Sunnyvale Lane in Spokane Valley. So I'm here this afternoon as president of the Shelley Lake Estates HOA to talk about the water quality issues at Shelley Lake. This 18.767 acre lake is located in Spokane Valley and has only one source of water to keep the lake filled other than what is provided by Mother Nature. Brief history. In the early 1900s, Bud Morrison's ancestors drained Saltese Lake to be able to farm and raise cattle on the property by digging a canal that led into the Saltese Creek. So over the next century, the excess water from the Mica Peak watershed, not needed by the family, was allowed to flow down Saltese Creek into Shelley Lake. Shelley Lake fish and wildlife thrive due to water from this source as the only external water source for the lake. Shelley Lake is relatively shallow with depths of 25 to 35 feet, so it interfaces with the Spokane Valley Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer. In 2010, Spokane County purchased the Saltese Flats property with the intent of recreating a wetlands. With the plants needed to recreate the wetlands, the county added gates across the creek to control the water. In 2021, Spokane County closed the gates and stopped all water from flowing into Shelley Lake. Due to a very hot summer, the lake level dropped to exceedingly low levels, and we had concerns over the water levels and problems with algae growth. We contacted Spokane County over this matter, but they were not very receptive to our requests for water. Eventually, Spokane County did allow some water, but it was a little too late to have any effect. In 2022, Spokane County provided Shelley Lake with an abundance of water. Our algae bloom exploded with the worst possible conditions of algae ever seen by the residents. In years past, this water source had come directly down the mountain through the canal into our lake. Now this water has been flowing over the land used by the cattle with their manure and chemicals used for farming. This is not the uncontaminated water we have gotten in years past. The HOA did what it could to mitigate this algae bloom. We requested Aquatech Next to provide us with a proposal for mitigation of Shelley Lake algae bloom. Their report was a 2-year program costing $107,467.64. It was suggested then by county officials that Shelley Lake HOA apply for ARPA fundings through the water quality section. However, we did not meet their guidelines. We then asked Spokane County for assistance in funding this program. Our request was denied as county staff did not take any responsibility for the water quality coming from the Saltese Flats. We understand the county has many demands on their tax dollars received from citizens. However, that is our tax dollars, and we would like to see a return on our tax investment. In addition to the request to Spokane County, we are exploring a grant application to the Washington Department of Ecology through their Freshwater Algae Control Grants Program. Thank you for the opportunity to present our request for funding.
Thank you. You just were timed out, so appreciate it. So next up, we have Robert Molitor. Okay, and Robert Harris. If you just please state your address for the record,
yes,
then, Robert.
855 South Shelley Lake Lane.
Thank you.
I've been a resident of Shelley Lake for going on 20 years. During that time, when we took over the HOA from the developer, I was elected the first board of directors, and I've been on the board of directors ever since, including serving 8 years as president. During that time, I've also been the head of maintenance efforts, maintenance repairs. And I currently serve as the treasurer also. So I've got a pretty good feel for what's going on with the lake, with what the association can do and has done in the past. Excuse me. Initially, for many years, the lake was in pretty good shape. We had a lot of swimming, fishing, boating, no internal combustion engines, but people enjoyed it. We had a lot of people that came in, friends and relatives, the homeowners, who could enjoy the amenities and the peacefulness. Then somewhere along the way it changed, and I'm not sure that the soil disruption up on Salties Flats, plus the additional buildings going on up there, around there, hasn't led to having a lot more phosphorus than we ever had before. The phosphorus combined with the heat, which we had last summer in abundance, record heat, caused a real bloom on the algae. We haven't had a problem with algae in the past. We've had other lakes around us that had severe problems, including Liberty Lake, Newman Lake especially, and a number of other lakes. We've been pretty lucky in that regard with very little algae interfering. We put in an aeration system to help the lake. It was stratified, meaning it didn't have good enough oxygen. The lower levels it had plenty at the top, but mixing it and improving the dissolved oxygen helped the aquatic life, the fish, birds. We get eagles, osprey, you name it. We get it, and we've had moose come and swim in the lake too. But this last year, following a year with no input, essentially, into the lake, the heat and the phosphorus that had accumulated just bloomed, exploded. Never seen anything like it. We had algae on the surface in mats that thick, and it covered the whole lake. And there was a lot of smell that went with it that had some adverse effects.
So Mr. Harris, your 3 minutes is up. So
if I could maybe have 10 more seconds, I'll be through. We're not asking you to foot the bill for everything. We're willing to help. Just our aeration system we've got going now, implementing and operating it has, over the years, probably cost us about $70,000. We're prepared, if an expansion of the system will require some electricity and things, we're prepared to fund the bill for that, which I estimate will be somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month. So we're not asking you to do something for us, we're asking you to do something with us.
Thank
and
you.
keep the smell down, which would affect all the homeowners, the apartments, the school, taxes.
Thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate your testimony. So let's see. So Robert or Paul? Okay, Robert. And I'm going to have you say your last name for me and then your address.
Robert Molitor, and it's 423 South Shelley Lake Lane, Spokane Valley, 99037.
Very good. And you'll
So-
have 3 minutes as
All
well.
right, so I'm one of 248 homeowners that live at Shelley Lake. There's 53 homes that circle the lake. Within that represents about $36 million $36 million in home values. One homeowner tried selling their house last summer. She started out at $625,000, reduced it 2 more additional times, got it down to $550,000, still could not sell the home. Of all the potential buyers that came by, they talked about the smell of the lake. So she's getting ready now to go and put the home back on the market. Unfortunately, she's missed the prime selling time, where last year it was pretty hot. She's already been told by the real estate people that she's going to have to sell it for under $500,000. So that's a $125,000 loss. My wife and I, decided to move back to Spokane after 35 years of being out of the area once I retired. We found the home on Shelley Lake, and we thought this is perfect for us. We moved in December of 2020, and by the spring, we were able to sit on the deck, enjoy the deck. Then all of a sudden, summer came, and the smell in the lake just became unbearable. We couldn't even use the deck because of the smell. So the thing about it is that the algae level and the toxicity were so high. When we tested the water, the normal UGL level is 8. Our lake was at 484 UGL. So very, very high. And what that stands for is it stands for it's a measurement described in the amount of substance such as mineral, chemicals, and contaminants that are in the water. So you can tell with that, and it's in a liter of water is expressed in the terms of weight per volume. So you can see that the lake was very high in the toxicity levels, and like Bob has said and everybody else, we're going to have the same issue come up again. We do have a lot of birds. I think Bob had just briefly mentioned it. We have the geese and all the other birds. It is not uncommon to have 500 or more geese and birds on the lake, and we do have 3 eagles. One's a gold eagle. So, you know, we hate to see those things. That's one of the things that Aquatechnics told us, that the animals can be affected by this. They can be killed by it if they get too close to it. And there's a lot of people, the homeowners, that are concerned about that, their health standards, everything else. So that's pretty much what I have to say. We appreciate the time, and hopefully we can get something accomplished. Thanks.
Oops. Thank you very much. Next, I have Paul Hershey.
That's close, it's Hersey.
Hersey, okay, thank you.
It's all right, thank you. 847 Shelley Lake Lane. The lake is my backyard, so it's become really important to me in the last, I've been there 18 years, and the last year has been pretty bad. I've enjoyed it tremendously just to have an extra room out your backyard. You want that. That's what we all want. Well, it wasn't there this year. And when we realized it, I remember we had some friends over and they could smell it. I don't have a good smeller, so I didn't notice it, but they said it's horrible. And it's pretty embarrassing to have that happen in your own lake. It's just not right. So, and then we would walk down to where Saltese Creek comes into Shelley Lake, and you can actually, I've kayaked up there about a quarter mile to where you can't anymore, and this last year it was all mud, everything that came in was just, you couldn't see through it. You could be an inch of water and you couldn't see through it. So you know it isn't something that happened in the lake. It came from further upstream. In years past, one of the coolest things that we had there was you could go about every 50 to 100 feet on the walking path we have all the way around the lake, and there'd be mated pairs about every 50, 100 feet, and they would follow you as you would walk because they could see you. They'd be 2-3 feet out there and I mean, you can't get that too many places, but it's gone. I mean, there's nothing there. You can't see them. Can't fish. I mean, how would you don't even know where they are if there is any. So we've had a lot of problems with that, and that's all I wanted to say. I'd just like your help in some way to mitigate the problem or think of ways to help us to do it. And hopefully we can work at it together. So, thank you.
Thank you. So those are all that I have for our open public forum of yellow slips that I have. Is there anyone else who's wishing to testify for our open public forum? And again, this is for items that are not on our agenda today. Second call for anyone wishing to testify. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on our open public forum. I will now close the open public forum, and we will continue on to our agenda. I will look to my fellow commissioner.
Madam Chair, I move to approve items 2 and so 2A and then items 3A through 3E. And yeah, that's what we're going to start with today.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, very good. I have a motion and a second to approve items number 2A and 3A through E on today's agenda as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That will take us to item number 3F that we will be taking separately. And this is in the matter of improving transparency by negotiating collective bargaining agreements in a manner open to the public, replacing and superseding resolution number 18-0950.
Commissioner CUNY, I move to approve item 3F with an amendment on the second, therefore be it further resolved, or I'm sorry, on the first, therefore be it further resolved to add that the adding to the distribution list or copies of the resolution be sent to two Spokane County employees. So adding them to the list of distribution.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second that is amending the resolution, adding Spokane County employees to the second to the last therefore. All those in favor of the motion? For the amendment?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I do need to open it up, I guess I need to open up for public testimony before we voted, sorry. Since that was a change to the resolution that was presented, we do want to make sure that anyone who has any questions can testify. So I will open up for public testimony on the amended language to the resolution. First call for anyone wishing to testify. Second call for anyone wishing to testify. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on the amended language for item number 3F. Seeing none, I will close the public testimony. We had a motion and seconds, so any further discussion? All those in favor?
I'd like to discuss the motion.
We're just, okay. So so we're revoting on the amendment, because the testimony was on the amendment. So all those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously on the amendment. That then takes us now to item 3F.
Commissioner CUNY, I move to approve item 3F as amended.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve item number 3F as amended. Any further discussion?
I just wanted to add a brief comment to this item today. For the public record, I do appreciate that this item's on the consent agenda today, and I believe that my colleagues and I are in agreement on a path forward with regard to this issue. But I just wanted to make a brief statement that I think it's important that we, as a county, remember that we're here amending this resolution because a majority of our workers in Spokane County have exercised their right to be a part of a union and to be represented by a union. And this resolution is being brought forward because several years ago, the bargaining rules were changed, in my view, in a way that we now know is unlawful, thanks to a 9-0 unanimous ruling by the state Supreme Court. That's why we're needing to come make this change today. I just wanted to note, I know that we've discussed in briefing sessions that there have been employees who were grateful for the resolution, and I don't doubt that. But I just want my colleagues to know that on the campaign trail, when I was running for office, I met with county employees, and I spoke to one who was all but in tears over this issue. And the way it was done and the delay in finalizing contracts that I think predictably followed for many employees as a result of the previous action. I just want to state my own view as a new commissioner that I think transparency is important, and that's what I've heard from my colleagues on this. And I think the resolution that we've got before us speaks to transparency. And that resolution reiterates that. Every contract that's negotiated with unions comes before the board, is my understanding, and is vetted publicly through that setting and is open to be commented on and reviewed by the public. I am it's disappointing to me that time and money has been spent on legal conflicts that ended in a unanimous ruling against the type of approach that was pursued. Going forward, I hope that this step today begins a recommitment to partnering with our workers and respecting the rights that they have. I know everybody agrees with this, but our workers are the backbone of the organization. The people who make sure our roads are paved and in good condition, work in our court system to keep it operating, keep our jail operating. They're the ones doing the real work of the county. We have an important role as elected officials in guiding the direction, but we wouldn't be anywhere without them. So I hope we can work to build respect going forward, and I'll be supporting the resolution as proposed.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I was just going to say it's been a good 3 weeks at the county, meeting lots of wonderful employees that are doing excellent work. I'm very impressed with the quality of staff here, and I look forward to a positive relationship with all of our labor unions and employees moving forward.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kearns.
So the reason we're amending this resolution today is actually because our state Supreme Court made a ruling that went against what 77% of the voters in the city of Spokane said they wanted. And that was to have transparency and openness in collective bargaining, one of the most expensive things that any local government engages in. That's why this is being amended today. That's the only reason this is being amended today. So I think, my comments, I will keep short and to the point. I'm disappointed that our state Supreme Court ruled against transparency and good governance. Our citizens still expect transparency in government, especially when it comes to how millions of taxpayer dollars are being bargained with and spent. This resolution will continue to promote the will of the people in our community. And I will be voting yes for it.
Commissioner French.
So as a previous union member myself, I was happy to join Commissioner Kearns when we adopted the original resolution to require transparency, because as he indicated, and has been my experience, when 78% of the voters say they want something, there are the same voters that put me here to represent their interest, and I'm going to do my best to represent their interest as they've expressed them. So, but not only did the majority of the voters in the city of Spokane say that they wanted transparency in public negotiations, I've been approached by union members that have said, thank you for the transparency, because now I know what my union leadership is bargaining for and whether they're bargaining for my best interest or theirs. I agree with my fellow commissioners in that our union members, as well as our non-represented county employees, are valuable members of this organization and provide an excellent service to the community. But when that percentage of the community says we want to know how our money is being spent, I'm going to do my best to make sure that they can see how their money is being spent. The idea that the contract comes to us and we can debate the issue after it's been negotiated is not how it works, because you can't re-engage in a conversation or a negotiation after the union has voted in a tentative agreement to move forward. But the Supreme Court obviously did not agree with transparency,
and made their decision, and we have to abide by it. And that's what this resolution does, is it puts us in a position to where we're now complying with their ruling. To the citizens out there that are going to be disappointed that they no longer have transparency in contract negotiations, we gave it our best shot. And we did what you asked, and I'm sorry that we're here, but we have no other choice than to change the resolution to comply with the court. So thank you.
Thank you. And I guess I will just comment that, yes, this resolution is basically a requirement for us to do to comply with what the state Supreme Court did choose to do. I agree with some of the comments here that this was, the citizens of the city of Spokane did vote overwhelmingly to have open and transparent negotiations, but the Supreme Court has chosen for us not to do that. I think our resolution is trying to hope that we can encourage future transparency and future open negotiations. So this is where we're at today, and I will be voting for it. So, okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously for item number 3F. I do want to just point out that there was a press release that came that I just saw today. We hadn't talked about a press release, so do we have consensus that we want a press release, or I would say if commissioners would like, and this will be one of these things we need to look at in the future, that this came before me, but I don't have a desire to have a press release go out. If you guys are thinking, I think we've got the press here, so that there'll probably be coverage.
Yeah, from my standpoint, Madam Chair, our public information officer was sent out a press release trying to, I think, respond to what anticipates to be media inquiry, and so I responded to the press release. So I'm happy to respond. If we're not going to do a press release, I think I've made my comments known from the DS, so I'm good either way. I yield to the pleasure of the board.
I got the same email you did. I'm fine if it wants to send out. I replied and sent in a quote as requested, but I mean, it stated everything factual on sort of what we were doing here. So I didn't see anything wrong with it.
I was just rereading it here, and, I don't have a problem with it just states all the facts from the actual resolution. But we will need to come up with a process for figuring that out, because Mr. Webley was saying, okay, we can integrate some comments and things, so I wasn't sure how that was all gonna happen. So, yeah, I don't know, we need to figure that out, because I think it is good to get out information about what we're doing to the community, so that, everybody can get the facts. And then, of course, any commissioner can always comment on, on any topic to the media on their own. So I think that we're probably not ready to send it out unless we approve a final version that has quotes in it, so.
I guess at this point because yes, this is something that we need to figure out the procedure to do, unless you have any, the individual quotes would not be needing to go through the other commissioners. So unless there's any issues with the language at this point in time, I guess, if you want to add a quote, let Mr. Webley know. Otherwise, it will, I think at this point then, there's a couple of commissioners that are okay having it go out. We can go ahead and send it out. But yes, we need to look at this in the future as to how we do this and procedurally, so it'll be something we'll talk about. So at this point, we'll send out the press release if you would like a quote in it. please feel free to make sure Mr. Webley has that before the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that will take us to our next item on today's agenda, which is boards and commissions appointments. So this is 4A, which is the appointment to Spokane Airport Board to fill the upcoming vacant position effective February 1, 2023. This was delayed 2 weeks, so this is the topic coming back up. Mr. Jordan. Commissioner
Madam
Jordan,
Chair,
sorry.
I'd like to make a motion on this item. It's a two-part motion to extend our opening for an additional week, and then to proceed with interviews with the full Board of County Commissioners. So I can speak to that if there's a second on the motion.
Commissioner Jordan, I might recommend you take those as separate motions. Might be just easier.
I can start with the extending 1 week motion then. I'll make that motion. Is there a second on that one?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And I'll just speak to the motion if I could, Madam Chair.
Just a second, so I just want to be
Okay.
clear. So I've got a motion and a second to extend the opening of, or actually, we'd probably say the closing of applications
Okay.
to be, let me just make sure we have the date.
Or would an appropriate motion be to reopen the application period for another week?
Well,
To accept? Is that what you want, to accept additional applicants? Is that?
Correct, that's the
Okay.
intent of the motion.
So I don't, it hasn't actually, on the website, it states that it's open until the position is filled. So we actually didn't have a closing date. So I think what we want to do is then, so you have it closing January 31st. So I'm just trying to make sure we meet, which is January 30th.
That would be a week.
Would be a week.
So I guess I'll clarify the motion to keep the position open until 1 week from today, which would be the 31st of January. I think that's the motion.
I think that's my second.
Okay. We are on the same page, so I'll just speak to
Very
both
good.
of my requests briefly.
Actually, I'm going to have you just stick to the first one first.
Okay.
And just keep it easier that way, I'm sorry.
Okay. I think that this is an important appointment on the Spokane International Airport Board. As we know, the airport has a significant economic impact on our region. There's also been a high degree of public interest in this particular appointment given recent media coverage. And my pitch is that a good process will lead to good decision on this particular appointment. And I think that it would be worthwhile for us to have an opportunity to consider all applicants. We're in a position here where we have numerous high-quality applicants that we're looking at, in my opinion. We need a good process to make the best decision in the public interest. I think clearly it might benefit anybody else who's interested in putting their name forward to know today that it is still open. It seems like some of us weren't clear on that point. And I think in the best interest of the airport, an additional week to make that clear would be a good way to start. And I'll save comment on part two for part two.
Commissioner French.
So as the second to the motion, I would offer the maker of the motion a friendly amendment that we want to leave the application period open until January 31st, 2023 at 5 p.m. So you set a specific time in the day that applications have to be in by. So I offered that up as a friendly amendment that maybe we can not have to vote on, but if you would accept the friendly amendment.
I would accept the friendly amendment.
Okay. And then with regard to the underlying motion, I am happy to second the motion to allow for additional applicants to submit into this process so that, as you indicated, and this is, in my opinion, a critical appointment for the board. The airport is, if not our largest asset, one of our largest assets. And we have experienced a great deal of growth as a community, and we have a leadership structure that needs to be supported as we continue that growth. And so I'm happy to support the motion. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. So the motion is to extend the application period for the airport, Spokane Airport Board until January 31st, 2023 at 5 p.m. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Now you have a
I have a second motion,
Okay.
Madam Chair. The second motion is to proceed to interviews of all the applicants by the full Board of County Commissioners.
Second.
So I'll speak to that then. Related to what I said before, good process, I hope, would lead to a good decision on this important appointment. High level of public interest, and I think that if we had a joint interview as a board, that would communicate to the public that we're all relying on the same information when we make a decision. And I would just make a suggestion to my colleagues that if we do go forward with that process, that we consider asking each of the applicants the same questions, and that way we're being sure to treat them fairly. Of course, each commissioner may have different analysis of those answers and the various qualifications of the applicant, so that's just a request that I would make. But I think that given the high level of public interest, that makes sense to me as a fair way to proceed that gives us all the same information.
Commissioner French.
This proposal to have the entire board engage in interviews with the applicants is not new to county government. We've done this a number of times for positions that rise to a significant level or rise to a regional level. And so support the structure with regard to the interview. And the one suggestion I might add, and this is something that we can debate about between now and when we get the actual applicants, is that if we in fact receive a large number of applicants, we might want to identify a process to whittle that down to 3 or 5 so that we're not taking the balance of the year going through interviews. So we can think about how we want to do that, to whittle that down and the process for that. But an open interview, I agree, everybody gets the same questions, everybody has the same time period to answer those questions, and then we can come together and make our evaluation on the applicants and stuff. So, I will also make this comment, and I hope I haven't informed my fellow commissioner that I was going to do this, but I think this speaks to the effort that we're going to try and make to move things forward through the county. Last Saturday, I invited Commissioner Jordan to join me for breakfast, and let's together find a way to where we could get through this. And so we spent the better part of 2 hours talking about how to navigate through this process and how to present to the board and hopefully to the community a structure that would give confidence that we can work together to find common ground and to move the community forward. And so I just want to say publicly to my fellow commissioner, thank you for taking 2 hours out of your Saturday morning. And thank you for the conversation and willingness to work to try and find a path forward. So appreciate that.
Commissioner Jordan?
My wife said only 1 hour next time on a weekend, so.
Or start over here.
So I will say I agree with the process, other than I think that depending on the number of applicants we have, that I would not want to interview more than 5, because there shouldn't be more than 5 with 5 of us. As we know from the Public Facilities District, when we had did public interviews, there was 3 people that we interviewed because each of us had someone that we were looking at that we preferred. So I would think we could go 5 or less. The other thing I would ask is to get this done quickly for the airport board, to look at Monday, February 6th as a day to try to see if we can make interviews happen, and probably by Zoom for the applicants, just so that way if someone isn't in town, they can Zoom in. So I guess, is that a friendly amendment to the motion to make it the applicants by Zoom and to hopefully do it on Monday, no more than 5, and do it on Monday, February 6th? Commissioner French?
So that is also the day that we've scheduled for an all-day retreat.
Not February, March.
So we're doing the all-day retreat in March, not February?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to do it in February. I don't know where you guys are going to
He's
be. So,
retreating from us.
well, if we're going to do it in February, then that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have a conflict with our calendars.
Yeah. I was trying to pick the Monday and to try to make sure that this person is appointed so they can be at the next airport board meetings. Commissioner Waldron?
Yeah, I'll support, I'm supportive of the motion, I guess. I'm cognizant that we have a lot of boards and commissions because we've just been going through them and figuring out how to reorganize them, and with the new 5-county commissioner system. So hopefully, I agree, Commissioner Cuney, that, for the boards that really have a lot of fiduciary responsibility, like the airport or the PFD, and there's multiple candidates, like sometimes I think it is definitely appropriate to do the interviews to make the right, make the best choice. But I also am cognizant that we have a lot of people who are volunteering their time, and we want to honor all these citizen volunteers and make sure that the process is as smooth as possible, and that we're not, discouraging folks from applying for our boards and commissions. So I'm supportive. I think this is a good idea, and we'll be able to, vet the candidates using the same questions. I like that idea. And hopefully moving forward, we can talk about this process and other things during the retreat that Mr. French referenced. So thank you.
That will happen later than sooner.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner.
I would consider the motions to be friendly, or the additions to be friendly, if that helps.
And as a second, I would agree.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a motion to proceed to interviews with the applicants for the Spokane Airport Board that will be turned in by January 31st at 5 o'clock, and that there will be the same questions, no more than 5 interviews, and it'll occur on February 6th at some point during the day. Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That then takes us to item number 5 on today's agenda, which is a public hearing item in the matter of amending Spokane County Code Chapter 8.03.8520, which is the sewer service fees. And Louis, you're the one who gets to come down. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Louis Graff. I'm the wastewater system administrator here at the county. And every not every year, but every few years, we've had rate increases to the sewer service fee that our customers see. And so this year, we are proposing a overall $1 increase in our sewer bill, so the monthly sewer bill. And so those are the sewer bills for our customers. They're made up of two different components. There's the wastewater treatment plant charge component and the sewer service fee, which is really the day-to-day operations and maintenance costs of our system. And so we're looking to bump each of those fees by 50 cents a piece. And this was proposed to the Wastewater Policy Advisory Board back in December of last year. And they also recommended that the $1 increase was an appropriate rate. And so overall it goes from $47.41 up to $48.41 would be the new rate. And so it's roughly a 2.11% increase. And part of the reasons behind that, obviously we've had, inflation, all of our costs have gone up, our fuel costs, chemical costs, labor costs, and so that, on the operations and maintenance side, we've definitely seen increases in our, day-to-day operations. And then on the treatment plant costs, again, if and when the city does upgrades to their plant, we pay a proportion of those capital improvements to their plant. And then any capital improvements to our own plant, we also, would be paying that. And then, all of those costs have gone up. The construction costs have gone up substantially over the last couple of years. So, the 2.11% obviously doesn't keep up with inflation, but it does get us, it does provide a significant bump to our rates in order to help offset the increases in the costs that we're seeing. And so, anybody have any questions or comments on that? Yeah.
Commissioner Waldron.
So I was looking at the different rates, and you're talking about the single-family rate, right? Single-family resident rate would go up by $1.
Yes,
so
that's the basis of all of the different rates,
Right.
Whether it's a duplex or commercial, we kind of use the single-family residence as our basis for adjusting all of the rates.
So I was just curious about the reduced rate residents, because I'm new, so I get to ask questions because I'm new for a while. How do folks qualify for the reduced rate for their sewer bill?
Yes, so I'm sorry I don't have the code right in front of me, but it's for people that have like a property tax exemption. They would qualify for
So
reduced rate.
just wanted to highlight that if folks had questions about that, they could contact the county to find out if they qualified for that reduced rate, which only is going up from $37.93 to $38.73, it looks like.
Yes.
That's, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan.
Can you just tell me a little bit about the board that makes a recommendation, what kind of process they go through, and whether their decision was unanimous to recommend the rate increase?
I was not at the meeting this year. I believe, Commissioner Cooney, you were at the meeting, and was it a unanimous?
Yes, so the board is, Commissioner Kearns and I sat on the board this year along with two members of the City of Spokane Valley Council and one citizen at large. And so it is the five that were presented with the information from our sewer utility division that, we made the decision, and it was a unanimous decision to do that.
I was sick that day, so I apologize for not being able to make it.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Commissioner French.
So the wastewater treatment facility and the system is an enterprise fund. And so we as a county do not make any money off of the sewer system. Unlike the city of Spokane that charges a utility tax equivalent to 25% of the utility bill, counties do not have the legal authority to levy a utility tax and stuff. So we are engaged in 100% cost recovery. And if we ever fall below that 100% cost recovery, then we've got a problem and stuff. So it's a little bit different than the city, but it's also one of the ways that we can ever actually maintain the low cost that we do. It's an excellent, in fact, it's been, I think, nationally and possibly internationally recognized for the quality of the processing and stuff that it does. So, and there are years where we have not increased the rate at all because of efficiencies that they continue to try and achieve. But when they do come and ask for a rate adjustment, it's rare, but usually pretty well justified. So just offer that for historical perspective in terms of how we try and address the wastewater treatment facility operation for the county.
I think history shows too, we've tried not to, have shock, rate shock, with large increases. So tried to do, more gradual increases over time. But $1 is a larger increase than we've seen for, quite some time. But, yeah.
Commissioner Jordan?
I'm just curious what the kind of public input process is with that group. Is there public feedback solicited on the proposal at all?
It's a public meeting, but there was not any public that attended. So this is the public hearing part of this. So this is that, feedback.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no other discussion or questions at this point in time, then I will open up this public hearing in the matter of amending Spokane County Code, Chapter 8.038520, the sewer service fees. Anyone wishing to testify, please come forward. Second call for anyone wishing to testify. No one online. It's *9 to unmute or raised hand function on Zoom. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. I will now close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, move to approve item 5A as presented by staff.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item number 5A as presented by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to Jessica Pilgrim. That takes us to item number 6A on today's agenda, which is a continuation of our public hearing from January 10th. We did receive one written comment from Paul Kropp that we all received. So we have amended the resolution, I think, a couple of times as we've continued the public hearing to be open. So Jessica, I'll let you speak to this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So today, the board is considering all of the amendments or the ordinance as amended on at the public hearing on the 17th last week. And so the ordinance that's before the board is a 7-member planning commission with 5 members that are district specific. And then the 2 remaining members would be at-large members that would also be nominated district specifically. And there is a caveat in here that no district shall have more than 2 planning commissioners at any given time. So those are the primary amendments in here, and that's what's before the board currently. We did publish this online last week for the public to review. And so with that, I am happy to turn it over for questions or opening it up for the public hearing, and hopefully no more amendments.
Any further discussion? Any further comments for Jessica? Okay, so then I'm going to open it up for public comment for the resolution that is before us today with the amendments that have been made as eloquently spoken by Jessica, so thank you. First call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6A. Second call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6A. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6A. Seeing no one online and no one in the audience, I will now close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners.
I will move to approve item 6A as presented and as last amended.
I second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for 6A. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. I'm sorry.
Well, I would just, Madam Chair, I was just going to say I really appreciated all of us working together to come to a compromise on this, and I'm looking forward to getting our Plan Commission seated. I appreciated Mr. Kropp's comments and history, and I know he did mention that maybe we should consider term limits, but I'm ready to vote on this, and down the road, if that's something we need to consider, we can definitely consider that. So anyway, thank you to Commissioner Jordan also for doing a lot of research on this particular item and bringing forth some different ideas for us. So I look forward to supporting the motion.
Commissioner Jordan?
I just want to thank my colleagues for a vigorous and open discussion on this topic. I bet you didn't expect to be discussing the Plan Commission for this long. I think we have made some progress. I still have a concern about representation. As I stated, I think 9 would be better. So I won't be supporting the proposal, but I appreciate you considering all the comments.
And I just want to comment, Jessica Pilgrim, thank you so much for all your hard work and dedication on this. As long as I've been on the commission, we have not gone through 3 public hearings on a resolution like this. So, Commissioner Jordan, new things happening with new people. But I just want to say thank you because you really did the hard work on this and getting it to the point where we're at. So thank you. Commissioner French?
Yeah, for the benefit of the audience out there, if you're wondering, why does it take this long to compose a planning commission? It's because we are cutting edge. There is no other county, and in some situations, there's no other legislation in place to contemplate the structure that we have. So we are, blazing a trail, and it does require that we work together, and we've so far demonstrated our ability to do that. So, just for the benefit of the audience, there's a lot of things that we're going to be taking up here in the next couple of months that is cutting edge because we're the only one in the state that's been created in the fashion that we've been created. So, thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none. All those in favor for item number 6A as presented on today's agenda?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. Thank you. That has gotten us through our agenda for today. Mr. Simmons, is there anything else?
Nothing for me, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I will adjourn the meeting for today. Thank you all.
Thank you.